Rupa Mukherjee ist in Indien aufgewachsen und hat dort ihr Studium in Rural Management abgeschlossen. Sie ist seit 1990 in der Entwicklungszusammenarbeit tätig. 2011 kam sie in die Schweiz und ist seither Mitglied der Geschäftsleitung von Helvetas. Ich möchte von ihr erfahren, welche Rolle Entwicklungsorganisationen in der heutigen globalisierten Welt spielen sollen. Rupa Mukherjee, the majority of people below the poverty line live in transitioning or emerging countries which face heavy social inequality, much like India. Is international cooperation still needed in your country of origin?
I would say yes, because as you rightly say, the majority of poor people are in these countries, and development cooperation is all about not only poverty reduction but eradication of poverty. You know, that is the goal that we have in the Sustainable Development Goals. Like every relationship, the development cooperation relationship also needs to change over time. So like in India, for example, in the 1960s, we needed development cooperation for the basic needs, for water supply, for agriculture. And now if you talk to the government, they will tell you, this we can do ourselves. We know how to do it. We have the resources. What we need is technical cooperation. We need to have not only know-how, but how to do things in more efficient, more energy efficient manners. So like every relationship, the development cooperation relationship also is changing in developing and transition countries. And I think it's a challenge for all of us to adapt and make the best contribution to the development process.
Helvetas respects the cultural values of its partners and expects them to respect the human rights-based values of Helvetas. Can these principles be maintained in countries where extreme social inequalities are tolerated?
I think human rights principles are universal, and Helvetas follows them, and I think in every country these principles are applicable. So yes, I think in countries where there is extreme inequality, these principles need to be lived more strongly. And there are some people in such societies who benefit from the inequality, the ones who are in positions of power, who control all the resources, but our solidarity is with the disempowered people. And they benefit very much by agencies like Helvetas reinforcing repeatedly the importance of universal human rights and reminding people in authority the importance of adherence to this. So I feel in societies like this it becomes even more important, and no culture really should withstand discrimination or disempowerment of people. And I speak also from the experience of India, where it is very important to reinforce adherence to human rights at every forum. India is developing very rapidly, but there are also a lot of atrocities against women, still continuing discrimination of certain community groups, the Dalits, etc. And in these settings, it's very important to keep reinforcing the universal human rights.
Climate change has become a relevant poverty factor. What implicates this for the work of Helvetas Swiss Intercooperation?
A couple of things. One, we need to look at our own work in the field, our own portfolio, and the immediate impact of climate change is already being felt by many communities who live in the most extreme conditions, in situations of poverty, so they see more frequent events like floods and droughts. And our programs need to be resilient towards this. We need to ensure that we do not do activities that make people more vulnerable, but also the work that we do protects them from the next episode of drought or flood. We build that resilience into the work that we do. The second thing is to look at the incorporation of science and latest information in our work, because there is a lot of scientific information that is generated, but it's not adequately influencing the work in the field. Parallelly, policies are not being influenced by the situation of people in the communities. So this bridging function is a very important function for Helvetas agencies like who are able to make the link between good science and good practice in the field. The third thing is also that we should look at our own behavior, because I strongly believe that the personal is political, And it's one of the topics where all of us are together. It's a classical global issue on which good governance, good consumer behavior, right investments in energy efficiency, in transportation systems, etc., are very important from all governments. And here, agencies like Helvetas can perform a very strong bridging function, bringing information from field to policymakers at different levels.
Helvetas' mission statement stipulates cooperation between development organizations and the private sector. Which kind of private companies?
We see the power of the private sector in poverty reduction, in taking people out of poverty. So Helvetas cooperates with a range of private sector entities at the national and local level. We may also cooperate with multinationals, but under very clear conditions. And these conditions are that there must be a good match in the values of the two organizations. We must collaborate for a very clear objective. The partnership should be for a longer period of time, not episodic for a particular instance. And there should be transparency in the relationship, clarity of roles and transparency in the relationship. So, for example, if you are working with farmers producing cotton, of course, at the national level, we do have strong partnerships between the farmer groups and the cotton trader and various service providers. But if it is Helvetas entering into a partnership, then these conditions would be very important for us.
Do you have fixed a certain range of guidelines for the cooperation with private sector?
We do have a position paper on collaboration with the private sector. It's an important guidance to all our colleagues with regard to conditions under which we will partner with the private sector, what kinds of partnerships we already have and what we would look forward to, but also the kinds of things that we do not engage in. And there is a particular procedure by which we scan private sector partnership opportunities and also a decision matrix.
Could you give me one or two examples of behavior you exclude the partnership, or of type of businesses you exclude partnerships?
Yes, if there is a history of human rights violations which is available, documented, then certainly we will not partner with such an organization. If the partnership is of a longer duration and of substantial volume, and there is no explicit history, we might even commission a specialized agency to investigate and provide us the information needed to take this decision. We will not partner with organizations that deal with arms or with tobacco or alcohol. We will not partner with agencies that are not taking care in their supply chain to eliminate child labor and exploitation of labor. We shall not partner with organizations that do not take care of environmental conditions. So this is very clear, and it's part of the position paper.
Which core tasks should private development organization like Helvetas cover in the future?
I think implementing good projects would continue to be a task where organizations like us need to partner with national organizations. So partnerships to implement good development projects would remain a part of our work. I would also see the continuation and maybe even enlarging the work that we do on providing thematic advisory support. So providing new skills, new information, making sense of all the resources that are now available. So while we do believe that the world is flatter now with access to internet, etc., everybody has access to the same information. But making sense of that information and seeing what is relevant and how to apply it and how to make the next step in development, that is where partnerships are very important. So functions would remain in project execution, in using information in an effective manner for development and advocacy. I think advocacy becomes very, very important because we are living in more and more interconnected worlds, and making information available across different domains of development work becomes very important. So linking policymakers with what's happening in practice, linking the youth with policy and developmental issues, all of these become very important.
In a growing number of development projects, different partners from developing and emerging countries work together. One example is a suspension bridge project in Ethiopia. Local experts from a Helvetas bridge project in Nepal shared their knowledge with their colleagues in Ethiopia. Will the future belong to South-South cooperation?
Yes, we see this a lot, not just in the bridge building program, but other activities also, where we have experts from one country going and supporting others in a neighboring or a regional country. We encourage this, and we really look forward to this as a growing way of cooperation in the future. But I do not see it solely as a South-South cooperation. There's a role for the North as well. For example, in the bridge example, we facilitated a lot of the linkages through our collaboration with the African Development Bank. They visited us here, so there was a function for Switzerland as well. And I think the future belongs to North-North-South partnerships, where both parties or all three parties learn from each other.
But if the global economic dynamics shifts furthermore towards Asia and South-South cooperation continues to grow, which role will be left over to development organizations in the North?
I think the future belongs to partnerships. And I think the world will be less divided in terms of North and South, because in the North also there are pockets of poverty, there are challenges, and there's a lot that the developed countries are learning and gaining from the experiences in the emerging economies. So it will be a mutual exchange, give and take, learning, and the roles will change. The role of the North will not any longer probably be in terms of being the major source of funding, but it would be dealing with questions of quality of life, dealing with questions of human rights, dealing with global challenges like climate change or challenges with regards to youth unemployment, mobility of people, job creation. And here both the North and the South need to learn from each other. So I think the classical modality of development is going through a rapid change. Some people would also not see the world in terms of North and South anymore, but in terms of the geriatric world and the pediatric world. So we are interconnected. You know, one part of the world has a lot of young people, a lot of labor force, another part needs a lot of skilled labor to support it. So this mutuality will increase.